Okay, so this week we left Alabama and moved on to Mississippi. Just inside, just inside the Mississippi state border, there's a little park called Tishomingo. Is it Tishomingo?
Tishomingo.
Yeah, Tishomingo State Park. And
And this is our first state park.
yeah, this is the first state park. We've done the military parks, we've done the commercial ones, and this is the first state park we've gone to. And it was a little treacherous, but kind of nice, wasn't it?
Yes. Getting into the site was
Yeah, getting into the site was exciting because it was a concrete pad, big enough for our rig, but elevated. Like the back of the rig was about, or the back of the pad was probably about 4 feet off the ground, off the grade, and then getting to the one to our site, we saw some sites that were, if you got off the pad, you fell down about 10 feet, because it was they were that high above the grade, but
And
our
this
site was nice.
And this is where it's important to do your research before you book, because I go to Campinium, I go to TripAdvisor, and just general reviews, Google reviews.
RV Parky and some others.
And
Life.
before I book a site, a campground, I make sure first how nice the campground is, and then second, I try to find sites that people recommend. And we were on site number 14
yeah.
And it was really the best site, because it was a little treacherous getting in there, but the view that we had was
gorgeous.
Incredible.
The view was gorgeous.
And that's another great thing about traveling during the week, is that we basically had that park to ourselves.
Man, there was on one side of us, there was nobody for a good 1/8 of a mile until it came close to the weekend, and on the other side of us, there's about another 1/8 of a mile, and there's RV spots, there's camping spots in between us and people that were there. So I think around the corner on the other side of the lake, there was a cluster of people that had, like probably about 5 or 6 rigs that were kind of closer together, but where we were, man, we had no neighbors but the ducks.
And they were loud, those ducks. They let us know they were out there.
They were mallards or something. They were, they were in a young flock, and they were out there making noise.
And speaking about being out in nature and being wooded, it was my first encounter of a tick. And I will not lie to you, it freaked me out a little bit, but luckily it was crawling on me, it wasn't embedded. And so at first I was on Facebook saying,
freaking out,
am I gonna get Lyme disease? And I even kept the tick just in case something happened, because that's what they advise for you to do if you find a tick on your body.
If you pull one out, yeah.
So one of the things that we did while we were in Mississippi is we went on the Natchez Trail.
Natchez Trace Parkway.
Yes.
Yeah. Natchez Trace is a path, that's a diagonal path from north central Mississippi to southwestern Mississippi, that was used during the slave trade, that was used during the Civil War, that was used by Indians before that, but basically a path through the woods.
And it was really neat.
Okay, all right, so Tishomingo was kind of cool because it was our first state park. It was gorgeous, and it was not bad, I guess. They didn't have sewer hookups, just electric and water, and then they had a dump station that was a little treacherous to get in and out of, but we survived.
And I was really proud of Paul because that's the first time that he had used a dump station.
Our first dump station. Okay, so anyway, then we moved on down the street to Arkansas. We were going to stay in Mississippi in a casino, but when we got there in the mid-afternoon, it was scorching hot. The place that RVs parked were obviously out in the parking lot, and there were no other RVs there, and it just didn't feel right. So
And plus, when he says it doesn't feel right, that means he got no cell service and no TV. So
yeah,
that was 2 strikes, and they were out.
Yeah, and it was scorching hot, and it was asphalt parking lot. So and nobody else was there. So that kind of gives you an idea that okay, this is probably a place where people come in about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. They park and then they're out by the time the sun comes up. You know, that's that kind of place. So.
And when we went to the next park that I found, it was a good decision on our part because I talked to this lady who said, "Oh, that casino should have been shut down a long time ago."
So anyway, the park that we went to was a new park in Arkansas.
The newest state park.
Yeah, and it's called Mississippi River State Park. So.
And this is where it's important when you're looking for an RV site. Just because you go online on the state parks and it says no availability, I said to Paul, hey, let's just call. And so it turns out that if you're trying to get a site on the same day, it's not going to show you availability. The lady informed me on the telephone. So it was a good thing that I called because they did have a site available.
Yeah, it was a nice site. It was big. It was back in, but full hookups and.
The site number was site number 8.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. Backed up onto or your view outside was a view of the lake through the trees, and it was a really good overnight stop.
And they had fire pits, and they had
so you got your s'mores on.
Hook to put your lantern on.
If you had one.
And they had a pad in the back, which was really nice. If we were going to be there for a few days, we would have set up our clam because that's how nice it was, the view, and would have been wanted to be outside.
Yeah, it was pretty. Okay. And you could fish on that lake if you wanted to. People put boats in, little John boats and stuff, and it wasn't very noisy, even though the place was full.
But the bugs, that was the only draw.
There were bugs, because I think we opened the door for about 10 seconds at night, and when the door closed, Christine must have killed 50 mosquitoes, just walking around from front to back of the rig and just killing mosquitoes because they were hovering around the lights and stuff, you know. But yeah, they didn't last long. They were dead in a quick sec.
Because I was not putting up being eaten alive through the night.
Yeah. So.
And that was just an overnight stay.
Yeah. So, was there anything in that week that we didn't cover that you wanted to point out before we move on down the road?
Nope.
Okay, we're good.
We're good.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll see you later. Bye.
See you down the road.
Bye.
Bye.